Southern insists this train derailment and it was not hauling anything hazardous when it derailed this weekend.
Now, meanwhile, experts claim derailments are going down. News Center 7's Mike Campbell breaks down the numbers for us.
Norfolk Southern has repeatedly insisted that there is no involvement with hazardous chemicals in this 28 cars that derailed. But as you take a look at the scene here, the extreme measures they are taking in the precautionary cleanup doesn't necessarily jibe with that. It doesn't mean there isn't danger on the tracks every day. Sky 7 was the first to document the extent of the Clark County derailment. Our pictures showed more than 24 cars off the tracks, some jackknifed and stacked up. At least 4 of the cars, tanker cars, with payloads feared to be dangerous chemicals.
There are no hazardous materials that have contacted the soil, been exposed to the air, or contacted any of the water sources or water recharge areas.
But those assurances and the confirmation from local, state, and federal investigators don't mean the danger disappears. There were other chemical-carrying tankers in this train made up of over 200 cars. They were just not part of the derailment. Our investigation shows that since 1990, there have been more than 54,000 train derailments in the U.S. That comes out to just over 1,700 per year, or 34 per state each year. The bigger concern is the release of hazardous materials. The Federal Railroad Administration said that last year only 11 derailments included the release of dangerous chemicals. The highest totals in the last decade were in 2018 and 2020, with 20 such derailments. But almost every time a derailment takes place, it is a possibility. Most freight trains do include tank cars that contain chemicals, liquids, or other substances that could be hazardous. That includes this train, which Norfolk Southern and local investigators now admit did carry hazardous materials, but in cars that did not derail.
I do want to quickly reiterate that there were no hazardous material cars that derailed in this incident. There were 4 tanker cars, but they were not carrying hazardous materials, and they did not carry hazardous materials prior to the derailment.
Connor Spielmaker said Norfolk Southern crews cleared enough of the damaged cars away from the train tracks that they managed to tear out damaged tracks and lay in prefabricated sections of temporary track to allow freight train service to resume at reduced speeds. Our cameras showed the first train to rumble through, but no one was clear if railroad officials or any oversight organization signed off on that.
Did you have to have sign off from the NTSB before you reopened that railroad with those prefabricated sections in place?
I do not know the answer to that.
NTSB investigators confirmed they arrived late Monday afternoon, and they will begin looking at the condition of the track, the mechanical condition of the train, which is no longer here, as well as event recorder data and interviewing witnesses and the crew of the train. We are hopeful that they will have more answers than Norfolk Southern has given us so far. In Clark County, Mike Campbell, News Center 7.